Welcome to the Elevating Voices in Leadership podcast, brought to you in partnership with Pepperdine University's Graduate School of Education. I am Dr. Gabriela Miramontes, and I will be your host. With me today are my co-hosts, Dr. Maria Brame, Dr. Asia Ghazi, Dr. Sonia Sharififar, Ms. Charlotta Green, Ms. Wellen Schneider, and our guest today is actually Dr. Simin Taylor. Dr. Simin Taylor hails from Iran and went on to receive a Bachelor's of Business Management degree from Cal State Northridge. She also received a Master's of Management and Leadership degree from Pepperdine University in 2016, then continued on to graduate school with a doctorate in organizational leadership in 2019. She worked with Pepperdine University in the United Nations Human Rights Council, U.S. State Department, and the U.S. Vice President's Special Advisor on U.S. Middle Eastern policy issues. Dr. Taylor prepared her doctoral dissertation in the tactical use of social media awareness, building campaigns to benefit women's rights internationally, and was able to elevate women's rights to the top of Amnesty International's agenda by leveraging strategic partnerships. She has been chosen as a top 100 National Veterans Benefits Administration leader with many credentials and accolades. Dr. Taylor continues to work on behalf of empowerment, inclusivity, and equal treatment of the U.S. military veterans at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Welcome, Dr. Taylor. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be voice for Iranian women in this very sensitive situation in Iran.
Yes. So as you know, there's a lot going on. Yeah. And we keep on hearing the stories day after day of just some of the horrific things that have happened and how women are starting to rise up or have been rising up. And so we invited you here as part of the Pepperdine family, as part of our community, to kind of get your input. Your dissertation speaks to this a little bit, but before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history and just your experiences?
As the reason I selected my topic of the dissertation was my brothers, Manucher and Akbar Mohammadi, were political and human rights activists in Iran. My brothers opened my eyes to discrimination, injustice that women in Iran are facing every day. And I can also explain that how women discriminated against. The Islamic Republic of Iran is based on Sharia law, and Sharia law is favor of men. In 1979, during the Islamic Revolution of Iran, the government justified the policy based on Islam, Holy Book, and the Hadith, which means saying of the Prophet Muhammad. That means women must cover their hair and body completely, or according to regime, the punishment for women who do not obey the law will be jail time, major fines, or lashes. Discrimination against women did not end with enforcing women to have proper hijab or cover. Women have no legal protection against domestic violence or sexual harassment. Women consider half of men. Women can receive half of what a man would, and in compensation for the death of a woman is also half. That's why I was interested in women's situation in Iran, and I was to write a dissertation, and it's the Iranian women's voice. And I thought everybody can see and hear that what's happening inside of Iran.
Thank you for that. So can you share a little bit about how women are actually fighting back against this discrimination?
Women every day fighting back. Our young generation of women cannot tolerate discrimination against them. They want freedom to make their own decision for their own lives. Women in Iran want equal opportunities with the men. They want to have freedom of speech which is the basic fundamental of human rights.
So how does that tie into your dissertation? How does, I know that you spoke about social media. So can you speak a little to how social media was used and how that brought about the awareness?
Sure. As I mentioned that my brothers, Manucher and Akbar, started this student uprising against violation of human rights and equal opportunities for women in Iran. I have witnessed the first and largest student protest against the government in 1999 since the Islamic Revolution. The most important part, I need your listener to please pay very careful attention, is to raise the awareness. The world needs to pay attention to people inside of Iran, especially the political prisoner who are taken hostage. Their lives are in danger. I can personally, from my own experience with my brothers, can tell you that the international support is very important to brave people of Iran. The time my brothers were arrested, they took them to jail, which called Tawhid. Tawhid prison was at the unknown location, and nobody knew the name and the location of jail for a very long time. The prison guard tortured my brothers with remorse for human rights. The Islamic government of Iran arrests or kidnapping anyone who dared to speak out against the government. My brothers were scheduled to be executed same day they were arrested. If my brother did not receive international support from United Nations, United States, French, Germany, and many other, including human rights activists and Iranian demonstration outside of Iran, my brother would have been executed the same day they were arrested. Timing was so crucial. In that time, we did not have access to social media like now. Cell phone was new in Iran, and majorities of people did not have access to cell phone. We did not have access to internet at home like now. We got majorities of news inside of what's happening in Iran from Farsi radio of Israel, Radio Fardo, because Iranian news and newspaper were censored by government. With international support, my brothers didn't get executed the same day they were arrested. Manucher was sentenced to 15 years in jail, and Akbar was sentenced to death. With the international pressure that was placed on the Islamic government of Iran, helped to save Akbar's life, and his execution pardoned by the leadership to 15 years in prison.
Are they still there, or did they already get out, or what happened since then?
My brother Akbar was, the time he was a hunger strike, they killed him. And Manucher escaped from Iran with the White House, with the help of White House, and with help of the American army, was able to come to the United States.
Simin, when did you come to the US?
In 2006.
And can you tell us a little bit of your journey? I know it's a sensitive subject, so if you don't want to talk about it, I can respect that, but
I'm open to discuss about it the first time. I was in the jail in Iran as well. majority of my family were in the jail. When they arrest me, the Iranian government wants to keep my family be quiet. That's why they try to put my family in pressure for arresting me and threatening me to rape inside of jail. With the international support, I was released from the jail and I escaped from Iran.
Thank you for sharing.
Good.
So let's switch directions a little bit. And I know again this is probably really sensitive for you, because if you escaped in 2006 and we're now in 2023, you're still seeing a lot of what you lived through.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Mahsa Amini.
Yes.
Mahsa
Amini was 22 years, Kurdish woman. She went to Tehran with her brother to visit their aunt. Mahsa and her brother were stopped by the morality police at train station because they believed Mahsa did not cover her hair and she was defying Iran's strict dress code. Mahsa was beaten while she was transported to detention center. 3 days later, she died in coma. Iranian government, after this death of Mahsa Amini, argues that Mahsa did not get beaten by police and that her cause of death was a heart attack. But her family said that she had no history of heart problem. Since then, we have seen massive protests over death of Mahsa. Protests spread to more than 150 cities across Iran, including universities. Iranians are protesting not just against Mahsa Amini's death, but also against regimes that target women and minorities.
So who is leading the protests? Who's leading the protests surrounding Mahsa's death?
Young women in Iran, from schoolgirls to teenagers, coming to the street, and they are leading the protest. The protesters chanted, "We do not want Islamic Republic, and we do not want forced hijab." Women telling women life, freedom, and many women removing their headscarf. Security force used tear gas bottles and shot the protester with the live ammunition. Authorities in Iran blocked the internet and they are hoping to prevent the unrest from spreading inside and outside of Iran. Teachers, farmers, and middle-class professionals have also taken to the street criticizing of Iran and the bad economy and calling for the regime change in Iran. Women on the front lines leading a revolution saying enough is enough. Video taken across Iran show girls taking off their hijab, flipping a photo of the Iranian leader Khamenei, and marching in large group to make their voice to be heard.
But as you've already indicated, they're putting themselves in danger by doing this, yes?
Yeah.
Because they're getting shot at, they're being beaten.
Yes, of course.
I'm sorry.
Let's go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Maria. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no. So I'm just curious. It feels like, how to say, what kind of a picture do you think people in the United States, how accurate is the picture of what happens in Iran is for citizens in the US? What kind of what we really get to see what's happening?
Unfortunately, the world closed their eyes what's happening inside of Iran because of the oil and gas. The world, they see their benefit and they close their eyes what's going on over 40 years. Thousand people, young women, their children, they are killing without nobody knows. We see a small portion of the family who were famous. They hear the names outside of the Iran, but the majority is people, their voice they're not heard because we did not have a internet phone that we capture the timing that people is coming to the street fighting, raising their voice. Unfortunately, the largest demonstration against the government after a few days clashed because the world closed their eyes on what's going on inside of Iran. And the Iranian government had a great chance to kill them. Not only they kill these human rights fighter, political activists, but the family was there in pressure as well. My family is victim of that government. And even my family were very famous. The all over news were about my family. But finally, the Iranian regime killed one of my brothers. If with the help of White House, they killed other my brother. And God knows what's happened to the rest of us.
I'm so sorry about that. It's really just heartbreaking to hear all of this. And, it makes me think there's so much that has been happening that we don't know about, that we don't have an accurate picture. We don't know what happens day to day, the kinds of violations. And it makes me wonder, why do you think that this particular tragedy of this one woman is galvanizing at this time all of this attention? Go ahead.
It was, the people was tired, is the word. It's years and years. It's about 43 years. They made them to be quiet. They were fighting. They clashed the demonstration. They killed them. If the leader come up, they killed them immediately. Unfortunately, the Iranian boys, even outside of Iran, didn't heard by American, the Europeans government. They tried to make it quiet and they supported the Iranians government, even the people, the family members. The majority of Iranian family members are leaving the United States, the Europe, they have a best life. Unfortunately, the governments around the world supporting them, they make a low profile, the voice of these people. That's why our voice did not hurt from lot of people. Their voice had because the government support around the world, their voice heard, not our voice. Ever we were victim, they had this support, their voice to become yes, Iranian peoples inside of us, but they weren't Iranian people's voice. They were the government, Iranian government's voice. And unfortunately, all politics and economic situation for the world, they closed their eyes in the human rights issue in Iran. This is over 40 years. Now women in Iran take a leadership. They are coming. They are chanting. They are not afraid. Iran, I was there. I know what's going on in Iran. How much is dangerous. Open your, tell something against the government. Immediately take you, torture you, rape you. And they are not telling you you're a political activist. And they are telling you your family, he or she had a heart attack, fall down in the street, had an accident. Never say that we have a political activist. Never say that how many political activists we kill them. Never say that, because they don't want other people around the world know what's going on, what's happening inside of Iran to women, to children.
Thank you so much for that. I'd love to hear a little bit about the work that you're doing. You're working with the UN, is that right?
I was working, yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that work? Is that okay?
Sure. I was working about the human rights issue is the women, the raising human women in Iran. For example, Narges Mohammadi, she was in the jail for years, and I was working with these political activists inside of Iran and outside of Iran to raise their voice. We met in the White House. We met the representative of the UN. We discussed about the human rights issue, and we discussed about what's going on around the world and how women in Iran, their voice cannot be heard. That was my family and I working so hard. Maybe it's not all the time, it's around the scene of the people, but we are fighting for people in Iran, especially women and children, because they are the most discriminated inside of Iran.
Thank you so much.
Simin, do you still have family in Iran? Or when you left, they all left with you?
Now I have one brother with his family. I have two nieces in Iran.
And is he still doing activist work, or is he not?
He not, because my brothers, they asked them several times to be quiet, otherwise something happened for their children.
So when the new government came into power and created the Iranian diaspora, a lot of Iranian families came here to Southern California and other places, but I think Southern California houses the largest community outside of Iran. Have you been able to galvanize the community here in support of the work you're doing for Iran?
Yes, we do. We participated majority of demonstration. My family, especially my family, is working very tight relationship to communicate and raise the awareness, and working together to raise the voice in Iran. If you see in the news, unfortunately in the United States news, we didn't see how much Iranian people came to the street outside of Iran to support Iranian people. And in Canada, in Europe, we see over 50,000 people in the same time came to the street. I was in demonstration in Arizona, the place I'm living. My family in Los Angeles, each time we are raising their voice, chanting against the government in Iran. Is now something we forget what's happened to us, the women in Iran. Our each person of responsibility to raise the women, the people, young people in Iran, because they are stuck they are hostage in Iran. They don't have a financial support to support their family. They don't have money to feed their family. They don't have money to receive the medical support, because Iran is very rich country, but the money is not going for the people. The money is going to support the terrorists around the world. Unfortunately, the government do not provide the situation that people have at least a good life to support their family. They don't have. The people I'm hearing the news, I'm talking my family, even the people cannot for per year have a meat in lunch or dinner to giving their children. The food they don't give the children is so, the life situation is so hard, and break down our heart when they hear that, to see that what's going on inside of Iran. It's not easy, because we came from that life. We came from that situation, and I cannot forget what happened to me and my family in that moment. I cannot forget that, how they killed my brother. I cannot forget that over 7 years, my brothers were students. They hostage them in the jail. They torture them. They killed my brother when he was hunger strike. I don't know, forget that. What happened to me in the jail? How can I forget these people? These people who were 43 years fighting. And now our brave women take a charge of leadership and fighting. And now the world open their eyes, and that can see that. But the portion of the news you can hear that, a small portion. Still, you did not see and hear the reality, what's going on inside of Iran. It's heartbreaking.
So this is such a difficult topic. Please know that I'm quiet. I'm processing and thinking at the same time. And I won't speak for anyone else here in the group, but I can tell you that I've been definitely affected by what little we are seeing, because like you said, we're not seeing all of it. We're not even seeing, an accurate representation of the type of support that is needed. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge to really understand. It's a challenge to grasp the severity. We've heard the stories. We've heard your story. Obviously, the dean of GSEP is also Iranian, so we've had many conversations about the Iranian diaspora and just overall the current situation in Iran. What can we do as citizens of the United States? What can we do as listeners? What can we do as the Pepperdine community? What can we do to help, to show support? What is it that we can bring to the table?
We want full international support for women revolution. The Iranian regime has oppressed the Iranian people for 43 years, especially the women. Hundreds of thousands of political and human rights activists have been executed, men, women, and thousands of them were children. This is the time where we need full international support for this women revolution that's taking place in Iran toward a full regime change. When operation become a law in Iran, the revolution of Iranian people also become a duty. Children and young people of Iran pass the protest and turn into revolution. The aim of Iranian boys and girls to overthrow the oppressive and religious terrorist regime of Iran. And for this reason, they went beyond the slogans of the hijab freedom and turned to the slogans overthrowing the Khamenei's regime. We want to join comprehensive plan of action to be stopped. Just as Iran always denies sending Iran-made drones to Russia, it is certainly using the policy of wasting time to achieve atomic bomb. And in order to fully realize this policy, it insists on deceiving the leader of the West by solving the joint comprehensive with Western leaders to bring down the joint comprehensive plan of action through false promises, and has decided to destroy the spirit of the revolution people and stop the revolution of the Iranian people. We need to raise awareness and stand up with the Iranian people. The Iranian regime has cut off access to the internet, so their crimes of murder, arrest, and rape and torture would not be revealed. Nico Shakarami, a brave 16 years old, was an example of girl protester who was arrested by Islamic Revolutionary Guard, and after being raped 14 times, they threw her head down from the fourth floor of the Islamic Revolution Guard security building. Since the beginning of Iran's religion revolution in 43 years ago, thousands of protesting girls have taken killed by this heinous and brutal method. But the leader of the world, especially the leader of the European democratic system, either they did not see the tragedies, or if they saw or heard about them, they have closed their eyes to these tragedies because of Iran's oil and gas interests. All the leaders of the Western domestic system should think for a moment, if these Iranian teenagers girls who were raped and executed were their children, their daughters, would they be willing to have a contract with Iran, such an aggressive, child-killing, anti-woman and terrorist system, or the joint comprehensive plan of action come back? Unfortunately, with the plan of Supreme Court, Khamenei is beyond all the plan against the brave leaders of the street protesters who were children, teenagers, and young people, were transferred from the detention center all over the country to Bozorg Hall of the Evin prison. And then security guard locked the entrance and exit door of the hall on them, and then explosion happened. Several prisoners were burned in the fire, and dozens of other prisoners had managed to escape from the hall by breaking door of lock and took shelter in the front of backyard of the prison. They were captured by the security guard of the Khamenei special unit. They were ambushed and killed. After that, the child killing and criminal regime announced that several prisoners were killed as a result of fire caused by fight between prisons in two halls. It had taken place, they were killed. It's not at the time that world leaders, instead of standing next to the terrorist, evil, criminal, aggressive, and child killer lawyer regime for 43 years. I ask world leader to please stand with the women in Iran in this fight against the religious extremists and dictators who have destroyed Iran in the last 40 plus years since the Islamic Revolution. I ask world leaders to stand with us while kicking out all Iranian ambassadors in their country and freeze all assets that belong to their regime or their puppies who work for them.
So I have a question. So for those of us, and I'm thinking not just of us here listening to you and talking with you, but for folks who will be listening to the podcast going forward, and for those of us who don't want to close our eyes and want to know what's going on, where do you get your information? Where do you recommend that people who really want to know, the reality and understand what's happening, where do you recommend that we would go to listen to news or information? What papers to read? What websites where do you go to learn what's happening?
I'm in touch, me and my family in touch with Iranian people, the people who are in jail, also women, and also some international human rights activity outside of Iran and Amnesty. We did communicate inside and outside of Iran. We also kind of listening the Iranian news, the Persian Iranian news. Unfortunately, we don't hear that much from the English language TV and radio outside in the United States or other language in other countries. When something happens like that, we see a small portion of the news in the English language, in the TV or the radio or newspaper. We hear and see that. If you want to receive the news, you need to communicate with this TV station. This out from you, ask them to raise the people's voice in Iran. You see a lot of voice, a lot of picture, video share in the Instagram, in the Facebook, and the people, they raise them and try to translate their voice, the language, the people in their world to hear and see and understand what's going on. Now, Iranian people trying to communicate with the senator, Congress office, and discuss with them, provide a petition, share the story in the Instagram, Facebook, Telegram, and to provide the awareness. We need this because now around the world, not Iranian, we see a lot of people, they are cutting their hair because they want to show Iranian women, we are with you. Now we have more awareness because the women in Iran, for first time in the history of the Iran, women take a leadership. Women did not have a room to raise their voice. Women did not have an opportunity to speak up. Now women cutting their hair because of Mahsa Amini. They're showing that we don't want this cover. We cutting this hair. We are showing that we are with you. Who cares about the hijab? We want freedom. We want the human rights issue be addressed inside of Iran. We want the equal opportunity. It's not now, it's only Iranians women's voice, it's around the voice. That's make everybody happy. That's the time can hear that we need the support, the singer, to sing a song for the people who's fighting. Now we see American singer holding Mahsa Amini's picture outside of Iran. That's helping, supporting, giving motivation to Iranian people inside of Iran. We need that. We need that this voice be raised. We want that because we don't know what's happened these people inside of jail. We don't know. I received the video. A Sanandaj, a lady, a young child, teenager, is around teenager she was arrested. After 1 week, her mom find her in the jail. I asked her, what do you need? What do you want to bring for you when I'm coming next time to visit you? She mentioned, no, nothing. What only I want to birth control pill. They're raping our children. They're raping our children inside of jail.
Thank you.
This is such a difficult topic, Simin. So, and for us, well, I won't speak for anyone else. For me, I'm struggling to process. I've heard the periphery. I've never heard it in such detail. So I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you taking the risk of talking about this with us here today. I feel powerless. I think that's what I'm feeling right now. I feel powerless because it feels like we're so far away. What can we do? So I appreciate some of the suggestions about reaching out to our legislators, about, trying to reach out to local news channels to see if we could get more coverage. Is there anything as individuals? Is there any charities we can donate to? Is there any programs that we can connect with to see if there's volunteer opportunities? Anything like that?
I believe that they provide a donation for women inside of Iran. If they're arrested, at least the family able to support them inside of jail, because Iranian government do not provide the basic needs of the prisoners. They have to pay, they have to buy with 2 times the regular price. And I decide that we need to discuss it. We need to talk about that. These prisoners' life is danger.
Mm-hmm.
I know because I work in the jail. I know what happened. My family, I know what happened. The prisoner inside of the jail, because we are in touch, the family, we are in touch with them. And I know the history of the Iranian government. We need to push the government to stand up with the Iranian people instead of the stand up of the Iranian government. This time, women stand up. They know their life is in danger. We know that every step they take, they raise their voice, not only their life is danger, their family's life is in danger. They take all the risk. Now, our responsibility, people who can raise their voice, who can support them. I'm asking your government, asking your senator, Congress, to standing with the Iranian people instead of these dictator regime, the killing the children, our women. our young people. I want to be more social media, the TV, magazine, newspaper talk about. We need, as a woman, to stand up back of each other, no matter for Iran, Ukraine, other countries is discriminating women. We have to be support each other because women always the first going to discriminate against them, always to be victim. Because if we are not standing, we are not supporting, we are not raising the voice, the people in Iran, the government make them quiet, they kill them, they execute them, they rape them, they torture them. Not only them, the family. The situation in Iran is very, very bad. It's very scary. We need help. Everybody, even the tweet, one tweet, even share the video, even support. Now we need more than that because their life is in danger. And I need more support for Iranian people, more awareness. We want more. Otherwise, killing the people, the prisoner. Now we over 200 people killed, shot, raped, over few thousand people in the jail. The Iranian government will kill them as well. Iranian people need help. Support them. Just support them. Be voice for them.
Thank you, Simin. So with that, just a brief overview, as Dr. Taylor was saying, there's been about 12,500 arrests since the outbreak started, or the unrest started, and of those, about 250 have been killed. And that's only what's been reported. So we know that there's a lot more that goes unreported. And I know that Dr. Asia is also looking to put a panel together so we can continue the dialogue. And Simin, for me, you have my word that I will continue the awareness piece and we'll continue having these conversations, not just with you, but if there's any other way we can help support. This podcast is available to you. It's available to the Iranian community. And I know that at Pepperdine, we're also in full support. So at GSEP, I can't speak for the university, but at GSEP, we're definitely trying to do more. So thank you for being here today. Are there any final questions from the panel for Dr. Simin Taylor before we go? Any final thoughts?
Just want to say thank you so much. I can hear how painful all of this is for you, and I just am very appreciative to hear exactly what you know and understand directly from you what is happening and what we all need to be aware of. It's as tragic as it all is, it's a great privilege to get to hear you speak. And it's always been an enormous privilege to know you and work with you. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
I appreciate that for giving me time to talk about that. It's very important. And I'm using every second to raise these brave women, children, our brave men as well. They're supporting our women and they're fighting with our women in the street and they're raising their voice. And I appreciate that you're discussing, you're once willing to support Iranian people. That's important. That's very important. And I want to be discussion more and more to support the people, even they're giving them voice because they don't have enough voice inside of Iran. Thank you. Thank you so much. And really appreciate. God bless all of you.
Simin, I would also say thank you for sharing your story. I would like to say that I'm truly sorry for all your losses and for all the struggle you passed through. It really increased my awareness. I was quiet here, listen, because I'm still processing all, the evil that we can sometimes experience. And thanks for fighting, for showing up, for using your voice to speak about that. This is truly, truly important. So yeah, and I am in full support of you, as Dr. Gab said before, and just thank you. And I'm really sorry for all your losses.
Thank you so much for sharing your feeling. I really appreciate that. I understand it's not easy to talk and listen because we're talking the people's life, children's life, women's life, who's just raising. We want freedom. We want to have the same equality with men. We want to have what I want to wear, what I want to talk about. This is the basic human's right issue. Even women in Iran do not have that. And it's very heavy subject to discuss about that. Thank you.
It's 4 o'clock.
Giving me time to talk about that. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Simin. I just want to echo what my colleagues have said and thanking you for sharing this deeply painful story. And yet the reminder that part of the journey for all of us is not just listening to each other's stories, but being able to carry each other's pain in order to come to some type of solution for all of us, right? This is not unique to Iran. It is your challenge right now, but women all over the globe are suffering in many different ways. And so thank you for lifting that up and the reminder that it is important for us to be in solidarity when we see injustices and inhumane treatment anywhere around the globe. So again, thank you for your vulnerability and for sharing your story.
I appreciate that. That's correct. We not only, we have to raise the women in Iran, wherever we see around the world, the discriminated against the world, we have to speak up. We should not be quiet. That's not my problem. That's everybody's problem. We are all human. We have to care. We have to have a compassion. We have to raise our voice. We need to let the governments, we need to let the media, we are here. No matter where we are coming from, we are together as a woman. We have to support. And I appreciate that they give me opportunity to discuss the women's issue in Iran because it's very sensitive and dangerous situation in Iran. Their lives in danger. The children, they are hostage now in Iran. They're killing them. The children, they do not have mercy to children. 11 years, 12 years, 14 years, 16 years, they rape them. This is horrible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. And with that, we come to an end. We're out of time. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. If you've enjoyed today's session, please remember to click the subscribe button. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you all next week.